My name is Andrew J. Vandiver, and I am the Associate Director of the Catholic Conference of Kentucky, and also a board member with Ed Choice Kentucky.
And I'm Heather Huddleston. I'm the Executive Director of School Choice Scholarships, a nonprofit organization in Louisville.
I'm Sylvie Umuhoza, and I'm a recent graduate from Virginia Commonwealth University.
Thank you, Chairman Wilson, for having us here today to testify, and thank you, members of the committee, for your interest in this topic. I am here today to discuss with you an idea that has bipartisan support and warrants the passage in 2016 by the Kentucky General Assembly. This idea is called a scholarship tax credit program. This type of program allows individuals, businesses, and banks to make a contribution to a nonprofit scholarship granting organization that provides scholarships to low-income children so that they can attend a non-public school of their parents' choice. In return, the donor receives a tax credit under state law. Kentucky already has several scholarship granting organizations. They just don't receive a tax credit now. They only receive a tax credit for their donors. And I want to introduce you all to today two representatives who will be able to tell you more about a current scholarship granting organization operating in Kentucky.
Thank you. I'm Heather Huddleston. I'm the Executive Director at School Choice Scholarships in Louisville, and I appreciate you having me here today. I do want to state that I'm not here to endorse any piece of legislation, just to tell you how our organization is set up and what we do. It was founded in 1998, 17 years ago, by a group of local business leaders in Louisville to provide scholarships to children from low-income households to attend any school they choose in Jefferson and Logan counties in kindergarten through 8th grade. And this year we have 345 children on scholarship at 51 different schools, and we had 3,200 applications, so we've got a waiting list of 2,800. And that's with very little marketing or advertising. So it's a lot of word of mouth and principals and teachers who send the children to us. And over the last 17 years, we've granted more than $7 million to more than 6,500 children. And I really want to turn it over to one of our great successes and a good friend now. Sylvie Umuhoza was one of the first participants in the School Choice Scholarships program, and just earned her master's degree from Virginia Commonwealth University, where she delivered the commencement address. And so I'm very pleased to introduce her to you today. Sylvie?
So, my name is Sylvie Umuhoza. As Heather mentioned, I was a recipient of the School Choice Scholarship, and just a little bit about my background. I'm originally from Rwanda. My younger sister and my grandma and I moved here about 15 years ago. Both my parents were killed during the genocide, and when we moved here, it was a tough transition. However, through School Choice's assistance and the opportunity that they gave my sister and I to choose a school of our choice, which was at that time a private school, we were able to receive the opportunity to get a great education, which in my belief, has really helped me throughout my success. I attended St. Louis University, and I majored in English, International Studies, with a minor in philosophy. And then after that, I was able to attend Virginia Commonwealth University, which I recently graduated from, and received my master's in public administration with a concentration in public policy analysis and evaluation. And I have to give all the credit to School Choice, because I don't think that without the first opportunity to choose a school of our choice where we would be able to receive the education that we received, we wouldn't be where we are right now. So I think that School Choice is a program similar to School Choice is a great opportunity for individuals like myself and from low-income families to get the education that they deserve or that they need, that they may not otherwise get from another institution or another school.
Thank you, Sylvie, and thank you, Heather. And I don't want to neglect to mention, now you are also applying for a Fulbright Scholar
Yes.
program.
I'm submitting my Fulbright application tomorrow. I actually lived in Kenya and Senegal as well before we fled from, after we fled from Rwanda due to the genocide. We moved to Kenya and Senegal, and I'm submitting my Fulbright tomorrow to go back to Senegal to conduct research on girls' education and women's empowerment in the small communities in Senegal.
Thank you. So I think we can all agree that organizations like school choice scholarships doing wonderful things. I certainly was touched hearing from both Heather and Sylvie. Problem is, as Heather alluded to, there's not enough scholarships to go around to help all the students who need assistance. A scholarship tax credit program would help solve the need problem by encouraging more donations to organizations like school choice scholarships. There's several others throughout the state. The underlying issue here is that we are not currently giving all students the opportunity to be in the classroom that best meets their needs. For those who can afford it, Kentucky already has school choice. Wealthy parents have the financial means to send their child to the school of their choice or move to a different school district when the public school that they're assigned to is not meeting their needs. But for middle income and low income families who lack the ability to move or choose a non-public school, school choice is not an option. Our message today is that a zip code or a family's income should not dictate a child's future. Middle income and low income students should have the same opportunities as their more affluent peers. A scholarship tax credit program can rectify the imbalance that currently exists in Kentucky. The idea is taking hold in states all across the country. 29 states, including several of our neighbors, plus the District of Columbia, already have school choice programs. While there are various ideas being implemented all over the country, we think a solution that works best for Kentucky is a scholarship tax credit program. The legislation would require no taxpayer funding and simply empowers private donors to donate to scholarship granting organizations. The available evidence demonstrates that these programs lead to higher achievement for students both in the public school system and in the non-public school system by fostering an environment in which each child is in the classroom that best meets their unique needs. The data also shows that school choice has a positive fiscal impact for the state and also has a positive racial integration effect as well. We are fully aware of the partisan dynamic that exists when discussing the blanket term of school choice. Our goal isn't to polarize this debate, but we're trying to bring people together. That is why EdChoice also supports a separate tax credit program that would allow private donors to give to public education programs as well as private or non-public scholarship organizations. Passing these tax credit proposals would help low-income parents who want to send their children to a non-public school of their choice, but it would also help public school administrators who might need additional funding to help their students get the best education possible. This is a win-win for students who are a win-win situation for those who normally find themselves on opposite sides of the school choice debate. I strongly encourage the General Assembly to take up this idea in 2016 with an eye towards creating educational opportunity for all Kentucky students. These scholarships require no public money and give low-income and middle-income students the same opportunities as their more affluent peers. The idea merits support from both parties, from legislators across the ideological spectrum. No matter any of our individual politics, we all share the goal of giving every child the best education possible. Thank you for your time today, and I look forward to answering any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Andrew. And so I think just to reiterate what you're asking here is that right now, if somebody gives to the scholarship, like Ms. Huddleston, your scholarship fund, do they get a tax credit or they don't?
No, there's no tax credit. They get a standard nonprofit letter for the IRS, but there's nothing specific for our organization, different from any other nonprofit.
Okay. And the difference between like a charitable gift and a tax credit, can you explain that?
Yes, yes. Currently, if you give to a nonprofit, you receive a tax deduction, which financially is worth less than a tax credit, which is dollar for dollar. And typically, the way these work is it's a partial tax credit. So it may be a 75% tax credit. So you give $10,000, you get a $7,500 tax credit.
Okay. And I wanted to ask Sylvie, how old were you when you came here?
10.
You were 10, and where did you move to? Was it Louisville?
Louisville, yes.
Okay. And so evidently you were part of the refugee program in our
Yes.
state there. So, well, I want to thank you for being here, and your achievements certainly speak for themselves, and that God provided you the opportunity that He did. And so, and I encourage you and wish you very, very good luck in Fulbright scholarship
Thank you.
application too as well. And Senator Gibbons.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Andrew, thanks for your presentation. Do you have model legislation that you're going to be writing this following? Is there another state that's done it, or do you have something out now that we can be taking a look at?
Sure. 16 other states have adopted school choice programs such as this. Indiana is one that's close by. We've introduced legislation last year. Representatives Tommy Thompson and David Floyd were the sponsors, House Bill 384. And we expect that similar legislation will be introduced in 2016 with some possible modifications, but the overall structure will largely be the same, I would suspect.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, members, comments? Okay. Senator Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I can't resist asking this question, Mr. Vandiver. And so I'm going to ask him, Mr. Vandiver, as I understand your proposed legislation, the donor class, whoever that class is, if they contribute to this fund, they will receive tax credits. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And as a result of their contributions, these tax credits will reduce their tax liability. Is that correct?
Yes.
And as a result of a reduction in the tax liability, Mr. Vandiver, if I understand your thinking, they will end up paying less in government revenues, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So you have your donor class, whoever that class will be, end up contributing money, which will have the effect of reducing government revenues for public schools, while at the same time creating a pool of funds for people to choose private education, and at the same time reducing the total number of government revenues. Am I logically following your proposal?
Well, I will say it's not as straightforward as that. Currently, Kentucky non-public schools are educating around 75,000 children. So that's saving the state hundreds of millions of dollars every year. So yes, from a very, I guess, black and white view of it, it is a reduction in revenue on the front end, but overall, the more children that have access to non-public schools will save the state money.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Meeks, last question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One of the things that we learned today in our post-secondary ed committee about foundations and about donations to schools is that the intent of the donor is always at the forefront of the decision making. So if a donor, and I'm asking you this, if a donor donated funds for and received these tax credits, but as a condition of those funds, the student had to go to a particular school, or could not go to another particular school, or could not major in a particular area, or had to major in a particular area, then those requirements would have to be adhered to. Is that not the case with this?
Well, you can actually continue to make donations in any way you see fit and receive the tax deduction, but if you want to participate in the tax credit program, there's going to be certain criteria. For example, it can't go to specific children. I can't say, I'm gonna make this tax
We
credit.
understand that, but in terms of specific schools, specific academic areas, those are commonly used right now.
The tax
as
credit.
criteria.
Yes, I understand. The tax credit would go, as far as a donor, on the donor end, they could donate to a 501c3, and that 501c3, under the current legislation, House Bill 384, that 501c3 has to give to multiple organizations, or multiple schools. So you can't set up a 501c3 that only gives to one school, it'd have to give to multiple schools. Now, the donor may decide to designate for a certain school, but there would be limitations on that. But as far as directing the children and so forth, I don't think those limitations would be in place, and that's something that could be corrected if it was a concern with next year's legislation.
So in the states that, you said there are 16 states that have this already,
Mhm.
how is the accounting handled? Who's responsible for making sure that the wishes of the donor are adhered to, and that the accountability and the transparency is there?
Sure. And I can't speak as much to other states. I can tell you more about what the proposal was last year. Under House Bill 384, the 501c3 does have some control over what schools participate in its program, but the overall structure of the program would be monitored by the State Department of Revenue, so they would keep up with who's getting scholarships. For example, under the proposal last year, only students with families making under $60,000 a year would be eligible. So keeping up and making sure that it's not going to families making $100,000 a year and so forth, that the Department of Revenue would keep up with those issues.